My dad didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten him. He didn't touch him. All he did was pull out a pen. And in less than 5 seconds, one of the most aggressive inmates in a maximum security prison went dead silent. Because my dad pretended to write down a name. If you've ever been disrespected, underestimated, or pushed so far that you fantasized about justice being served, you're going to love this one. Hit like, subscribe, and get comfortable. Because this isn't just a prison story. It's a lesson in power, fear, and the one invisible rule that even hardened criminals never break. My dad worked as a prison guard for 25 years. Not county jail. Not some low-security facility where guys were counting days until release. A maximum security prison. The kind of place where doors slam like thunder. Where silence feels heavier than noise. Where every hallway smells faintly of bleach, sweat, and something else you can't quite name, but your body knows it's danger. Growing up, my dad never glorified his job. He didn't brag. He didn't exaggerate. If anything, he downplayed it. But every once in a while, usually late at night, when the house was quiet, he'd tell a story. And those stories had a way of sticking with you. One lesson, in particular, never left my mind. He said, "There are a lot of disgusting words spoken in prison. But there's one word you never say. That word. Snitch. Most people hear, snitches get stitches, and think it's just slang, a rhyme, a joke. It's not. In prison, being labeled a snitch isn't an insult. It's a death sentence. And inmates don't need proof. They don't need confirmation. All they need is the belief that you talked. That belief spreads faster than fire." 2. The problem inmate. When my dad was still fairly new on the job, there was one inmate who made his life hell. Every shift, every round, the guy would wait for him. As soon as my dad's footsteps echoed down the tier, the verbal abuse would start. Not just insults, the worst kind. Attacking his wife, his kids, things no human being should ever hear. Especially when you're legally not allowed to react. And the inmate loved that. Loved knowing my dad couldn't respond. Loved the power. My dad would stand there, jaw tight, hands clenched behind his back, reminding himself, don't react. Don't give him what he wants. But after weeks of it, that restraint starts to crack. You carry those words home with you. They sit in your chest. They replay when the house is quiet. Finally, my dad did something most rookies eventually do. He asked for help. The advice. He pulled aside a veteran officer, the kind of guy who had been there long enough that nothing surprised him anymore. My dad explained everything. How do I deal with this guy? I can't write him up. He doesn't break rules. But every day, he crosses every human line imaginable. The older officer didn't get emotional, didn't lecture. He just smiled, a slow, knowing smile, and said, "Tor, if you really want to get a prisoner's attention, there's one trick that always works." My dad leaned in. The officer continued, "Tor, go to his cell, pull out your notepad, point toward other cells. Nod your head. Act like you're writing something down." That was it. No threats, no yelling, just implication. And then the officer added one final sentence. "Tor, hell, do whatever you want." The moment. The next day, my dad tried it. He walked his usual route. Same lighting, same concrete, same echoing footsteps, and right on cue, the inmate started, vile, relentless, cruel. My dad didn't respond. Instead, he calmly reached into his pocket, pulled out a notepad, a pen, clicked it. Then he looked past the inmate, not at him, past him, and said casually, "Tor, oh really? Him." And he pointed across the block, to a random cell. Then he nodded, and pretended to write. 2. The psychological break. The change was instant. My dad said the inmate's face didn't just change, it collapsed. All the arrogance drained out of him. His eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly. Like he was trying to breathe through fear. He jumped out of bed and rushed the cell door, gripping the bars. His voice dropped from screaming, to a whisper. "Tor, please. Stop. I'll do anything you want. Please, please." No insults, no bravado, just pure survival instinct, because in his mind, it was already over. He believed my dad was labeling him, marking him, making him a snitch. And in prison, you don't get to explain yourself. From that day forward, silence, total, complete silence, no insults, no looks, no attitude. That inmate became one of the most well-behaved prisoners on the tier, all because of a pen, a notepad, And the idea of consequences. My dad never wrote a thing. He never had to. The revenge wasn't violence, it wasn't punishment. It was psychological dominance, using the inmate's own world, rules, and fears against him. And it worked perfectly. My dad used to say prison doesn't run on laws alone. It runs on beliefs. And sometimes, the most powerful justice isn't loud, it's silent. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real revenge stories that prove justice doesn't always look the way you expect. And tell me in the comments, what's the most powerful silent revenge you've ever seen? Because trust me, the quiet ones hit the hardest.